Margaret from Dr. Klein's office. You've missed your last 2 appointments. We need to know if you're coming in this week. Give me a call, okay? Thank you. Hey, it's me again. I'm really getting worried now. I just want to know that you're okay. Call me as soon as you get this, all right?
Miss Vaughn, this is Detective Clarkson of the San Francisco Police Department. Thanks for showing us all that evidence, but that case is considered inactive and we don't think there's enough there to merit it being reopened. Best to just let it lie and not worry about it. But, listen, if you want to meet for a cup of coffee or a drink sometime, you have the number. Call it. Thanks. Bye.
Yes. May I help you?
Good afternoon. I have some things I believe may belong to you, Mrs. Reedy. You are Hazel Reedy.
I am? What things?
Some books. They belong to your husband. At least, I think they did.
My husband is dead.
I know. I'm sorry. Mrs. Reedy, I think that these books are really important. If I could have just a moment of your time, I'm sure that you could clear up a lot of things.
Come inside.
I'll try not to take too much of your time.
I didn't get your name.
Lulu.
You know, I was very fashionable once, like you. I like that dress. It's lovely.
Thank you. It was my mother's.
I still have lots of them. Closets full. Upstairs. Come, sit down. Excuse the gloom. I never have visitors. I rarely open my drapes. I don't want the upholstery to fade.
Are you the artist?
I used to be. I've made myself a pot of tea. May I bring you a cup as well?
Sure, that would be nice.
I keep it quite warm in here. Take off your sweater if it would make you more comfortable. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Aren't you having some?
I can only carry one at a
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry. I should have asked if you needed help.
Oh, I'll get mine in a moment.
Let me get it for you.
Sit down in a moment. Are those the books you wanted me to see?
Do you recognize them?
No, but I'm curious why you think I should.
Look familiar?
That looks like the work of a crazy person. You know, your hairdo is very old-fashioned, dear. I'm trying to think of the name of the actress.
When you look closely, you see it's not really crazy. It's not disorganized or random. It's more like the work of someone whose mind won't shut off. There's a thesaurus I didn't bring that's 1,289 pages. There are notes like this on every page. It's like he's trying to grasp everything.
You think you're describing my husband from this book?
Did this belong to your husband?
John did study a lot, I'll say that. If it was his, I wouldn't be surprised.
Your husband was a brilliant man, I'm assuming, being a teacher and all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't mind my smoke, I hope.
Of course not. Here's a long entry in this encyclopedia regarding numbers. Notice all these highlighted and marked up sections pertaining to cuneiform numerals and hieroglyphs. All this stuff here about the development of numerals through the symbolic, decimal and cipher stages.
And your reason for showing me this?
I'm getting to that. You may remember that many years ago there was a man who killed some people and boasted about it through sending letters and messages in code to the newspapers.
You came here because you think my husband was Zodiac?
Am I the first?
Yes, you are. You certainly are.
Here, look at this. It's from a series of westerns about a vigilante gunfighter with a secret identity. There was a bunch of these masked rider novels in with the other books. Turn to the last page. See what's there?
What am I supposed to make of this?
It's crosshairs. It's a gun sight. It's the symbol that Zodiac used to sign his letters. Flip through that book, any of these books. You'll see that symbol all over the pages.
Don't let your tea get cold. If you thought this all amounted to something, you wouldn't have come brazenly knocking on my door. You'd have taken all this to the police.
I have.
And did they laugh at you?
No. No, they did not.
And if the police thought there was something in all this, why aren't they here?
Because there's nothing in these books that they can act on. It's barely circumstantial. But when I learned that John Montgomery Reedy was married, well, it seemed obvious that his widow was the one who could settle all this. You are the one who can blow my whole crazy theory right out of the water.
Or I could just admit that my husband was a murderer.
Or that.
You have a lot of guts, young lady. I'll say that for you. We called it moxie in my day. Dear, the notes in those books, don't you think you'd find that kind of thing in any teacher's reference books?
This was used as a bookmark. It's a bank deposit slip. J. Montgomery Reedy, 25 Fairlawn Drive, Riverside, California. Were you married then? In Riverside?
Yes. I was married to John Montgomery Reedy from the time I was 22 years old. A very naive 22-year-old. How old are you, dear?
26.
You weren't even alive. What possible interest could you have in those horrible crimes? For God's sake, look at you. You're still a child.
I know someone who was murdered.
I'm sorry. Were you close?
I didn't know her very long. Your husband taught in Riverside for 2 years at Harbor Avenue Junior High School. Isn't that right?
He taught English. The notes in those books, they're just things a teacher does. The musings of a fertile mind.
Some of these books were purchased in Riverside. The receipts are still in them. Zodiac's first documented murder was in Riverside. Sherry
We
Jo
moved
Bates.
here in 1967, so that would seem...
Sherry Jo Bates was killed in 1966. Records at Harbor Avenue Junior High show that Mr. Reedy quit 3 months after her murder. He immediately moved up here to Danville, where he got a job teaching at Monte Vista High School, but you lived in Vallejo, where Zodiac started killing again in 1969. Let me show you something else. This is from a book called The Experience of Literature. It's an excerpt from Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov called The Grand Inquisitor. All of these references appear in Zodiac's letters to the press. I have read every word of these books, Mrs. Reedy. The ones printed on the page and the ones written in by your husband. There is a manifesto in the margins of these books. He scares me. Just on the page, he scares me. Did he scare you?
Even if those books did belong to my husband, maybe he bought them secondhand. Maybe those markings were already there. How could we know? And how did you happen to have them anyway?
I found them in an antique store all boxed up together. The dealer bought them at a church bazaar at St. Isidore's, just down the road from here. Sister Joan said that they were donated by a longtime parishioner whose husband died 8 years ago. She said that your exact words were, "Someone else needs to have these now."
I didn't go to St. Isidore's very much by then. Yes, she would have remembered.
Did you want them to be found? Why didn't you take them to the police?
My cigarettes are in the kitchen. Come with me.
If you can disprove what I'm suggesting, please do. Any of it. Like here, how on this side of the page the writing slants to the right, but in the other margin it slants to the left. From all the police reports and research shown, it is believed that the Zodiac was ambidextrous. He could write with either hand.
Don't you believe that? That's ridiculous.
Was your husband ambidextrous?
The person who wrote this madness was not ambidextrous. What you see on those pages is more like schizophrenia. Follow me. I want to show you something. Dear, please, come in here. Louise Brooks.
I'm sorry?
That's the actress I was trying to think of before. She had a haircut just like yours.
That's why I took the name Lulu for her movie.
You're too young to know about her. And too young to have lost anyone to the Zodiac. And also too young to be my daughter. I am sorry to say.
I'm sorry, I thought...
That's it. My last one. Lulu, listen to me. There isn't much time. What would you say if I told you you were right? What would your reaction be? Would you hate me the way I hate myself? Look at me. Look at this place. I've been ill most of my life. I couldn't do what needed to be done.
It's not your fault. God forgives.
I don't want God's forgiveness. Where was God when the damage took place? How could he let it happen, any of it? Why didn't he ease my conscience after all the years I kept praying for help? No, I don't need God's forgiveness. I need your forgiveness. I'm so glad it's going to be you, so full of promise. Like the ones who died, the ones he killed.
The ones he may have killed.
Lulu, look under there. You'll have to kneel down. He had them hidden all over the house, in secret places. That's the only one left. I don't know why, but I had to keep one.
I have to go now. I don't feel very well.
Oh, you'd better sit down. Use this chair.
I don't know what's happening.
I put something in your tea. It took so long for you to finally come. I didn't want you running away. Lulu. He did that, Lulu. You asked before if he scared me. He paralyzed me every moment I was alive. I had no one to help me, no one to talk to. But that's no excuse. I let it happen. John did evil things, but I am guilty too, just as much as if I had held the gun or the knife. Oh. You see, to make sure that I never left him, John made me his accomplice. How could I betray him then? He was brilliant, as you said. But I wrote everything in those books, Lulu. Not John. All the ciphers, all the letters. I wrote them. Here. Let's get this off. It'd be a shame to ruin it. Can you still hear me? I'm sorry to put you through this, Lulu, but I am guilty of terrible sins. God won't forgive me, and I don't want him to. I could have stopped it, but I didn't know how. I can't forgive myself. But you can forgive me, Lulu. Please, my dear, try to understand. It's all I want. It's what I've waited for all these years. To look in your eyes and see your forgiveness. Will you forgive me? Thank you. Thank you for finally coming, my dear. Thank you for being so smart. And thank you for hearing my confession. God hates me, but he blesses you.